Then to be given this, her facing 11 years in jail for conspiring to save a baby's life nonviolently. I was in 16 and a half months, and I was looking at another 3 years of finishing that sentence. I had 27 months of jail time to do, but because I don't accept probation, I was looking at another 3 years, because then you would do that in the hole. Because when you don't cooperate with something, then you have to be put in solitary confinement.
Well, I'm so glad that you're back home, and I just wanted to start off by asking you how it felt, what you were doing when you found out you got pardoned.
I was actually praying a rosary in one of the cells on the upper tier, and I had just ended, thank God. I just finished the rosary. I was about ready to leave, and someone comes running into the cell saying, Jones, Miss Joan, they call me Miss Joan because of my age, I guess. Miss Joan's husband's on Fox News, and she's gotten a pardon from Trump. And so I ran down the stairs, and I didn't have a tablet, so most of the ladies had tablets, so they gave me their earplugs so I could hear the TV. It was very exciting.
Wow. How quickly were you able to leave?
Well, I didn't know myself at that time, but then an officer came by about half an hour later saying, pack up, you're leaving tonight. So that was the 23rd, and I left in the wee hours of the next morning, about 2 o'clock, 1:32.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
When the
And
paperwork came through, yeah.
what was your experience in jail like?
It was, prison is very rough, and but I really loved the people. They're just, everyone treated me well, even the guards. And the guards, many are so kind and good. Others can be very rough, But I have to say I was treated well. The ladies, whenever you care about people, they care back. So I think we had that was my experience. Everybody treated me well.
Were you able to disciple some of the other prisoners? That's something I've been hearing a lot.
Oh yeah, we started out like most of the people in our rosary group. I'm Catholic, but most were not Catholic. But they were all started praying the rosary. It got so big we had to have a second group. Then we prayed from a missalette. We were able to pray the Holy Sacrifice of the Mass every day, the prayers of the Mass, and Bible studies. It was great. It was really beautiful.
Did you develop a lot of... Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, of course, I missed my family and all, so it wasn't, I wouldn't go back, voluntarily. I would visit people, but I wouldn't want to live there again. But I care about the people there a lot.
Did you develop a lot of relationships while you were there?
Yes. In fact, I have so many to write. I have to set a day aside to just write. I want to do it soon, so I was planning to do it today, write back everybody I could. I have stamps now, so I can do it. I have letters that I wrote people when I was in prison, but I didn't have stamps for, so I have to start mailing those off. But,
what did you miss most while you were there?
Number one was actually the Holy Sacrifice of the Mass and the sacraments. That's what I miss most. And right second after that, of course, my family, my children, my grandchildren, my husband, But and friends, too, I missed, but especially my family and the sacraments.
How many children and grandchildren do you have?
So we have 7 children, and the youngest is just turned 25 in October. And November. She turned in November. And then we have 9 grandchildren. The oldest is 7. Then there's a skip to 3. And they all are 3 and younger, 9 of them. 8, the other 8. So I really miss them for they're 16 and a half months, basically. It's a long time to wait from little babies. And several were born while I was in prison. So
and the ninth one is about to be born, in a couple of weeks.
Yeah. So I'm very happy to be with all these kids, surrounded by kids. It's wonderful. It's just wonderful being home.
Have you been able to meet all the newly born ones?
Oh yeah, because three of them live here with us. Three of the children, and there'll be a fourth one living here, and then everyone lives pretty close, nearby. And furthest away is Binghamton. That's a 2-hour drive, and that's not bad. I know this day and age, a lot of families have people way over across the country. It's not like in the olden days when everybody lived in the same community. So we're blessed with that.
You know what I think was important during her time in prison, and everybody who was incarcerated unjustly under the Biden DOJ, is that it was not only an intense time of prayer, and even there were some non-believers who were incarcerated, who were sacrificing their freedom, and I will say joyfully, but also it was an intense time of penance, and it brought a spotlight on the evil. And during this time, a few months after they were immediately incarcerated after the trial, the Alabama Supreme Court determined that a tray of children conceived by IVF were killed by an accident, and it was considered a wrongful death. And that is the right decision because they are children, they are conceived, and as human beings, they have a right, really, and a determination to our protection and our life. However, the evils of IVF, which for 50 years have not been discussed, it was not on the table at all, and nobody was thinking anything about it, now came to the fore. And I honestly believe, although some would say, well, how can you equate, the abortion of late-term babies, which Joan and the others were trying to stop, and that's why they were heedlessly incarcerated and brutally tried. The trial was absurd. But this all came to light because they were now in jail. I think. I mean, it's only a spiritual connection. There's really no direct connection. And then, of course, we have the election of President Trump, which is historic. He's not as strongly pro-life as we'd like him to be because he and others are advocating for IVF. But now we have the opportunity to talk about it and to say that, yes, IVF does create life. Unfortunately, it kills many, many more lives, or it puts on ice conceived children without any protection or any thought. It shouldn't be. It's a process that should not be. And this is not in any way disparaging any human being or even any couple that has used that method to have a child, to raise a child. But going forward, we should simply stop it. I just have to stop. There's some things that science can do that should never be used. And a nuclear weapon is one of them. And without getting into the whole debate about, how many nuclear warheads we should or should not have, the reality is it destroys innocent human life. There's no way not to do that with a nuclear bomb. And so, we have to do everything in our power to stop it from being used. So science has limits, even with our so-called, advances in technology.
How long were you in prison, and how much longer did you have left when you were pardoned?
I was in 16 and a half months, and I was looking at another 3 years or finishing that sentence. I had 27 months of jail time to do, but because I don't accept probation, I was looking at another 3 years, because then you would do that in the hole. Because when you don't cooperate with something, then you have to be put in solitary confinement. So I was looking at another 3 years, even when I finished, which I hadn't even finished my jail sentence yet. So I was very, very happy to not have to do that.
Oh my goodness! Did you was your health okay when you were in prison? Did you ever feel in danger?
There is danger in prison because there's violence, and a lot of it is because of prison being what it is, and the people incarcerated, some of them that can't control their anger, So there's always that. But also, I found to be quite blunt, the BOP doesn't take care of its medical the medical needs of its inmates very well.
That's the Bureau of Prisons.
Yeah, the Bureau of Prisons. The federal prisons. They don't take care. There are people there who were seriously ill with brain tumors, things, real serious stuff. They weren't being seen. I don't know why the system is so bad. In Carswell, I believe that they're doing organ trafficking, transplants, and letting people die. I believe that's happening. There's so many stories from people who've been there, and in Aliceville, Alabama. Some of the inmates told me that there hasn't been a baby born, a live birth, in like 11 years because they give them abortion pills when they say they give them prenatal pills. And one young lady I was with, said her sister refused because she knew it was an abortion pill. And then they retaliated by putting her in solitary confinement. And she did lose the one twin because of their techniques, the things that they did to her, made her miscarry one of the twins. And then when she went into labor, they didn't take her to see a doctor. They let her deliver by herself. And they didn't care for her after the baby was born. And finally, the baby did survive and is with the parents now, her parents. But a lot of bad things. So I think there needs to be a big investigation of the whole system. Find what's going on here. We all call it human trafficking. I started saying that right away. Other people say, yeah. They keep prisoners as long as possible. They could put you, if you're a federal prisoner and they're paying a county jail or a city jail to hold you, you're still a federal prisoner. Why aren't you getting your good time off? You don't get good time off until you end the BOP. Like with us, we were 9 months in the regular jail. So we got those 9 months. But all the good time we could have gotten, so they pick and choose. It's a real corrupt
because
and broken system.
They get reimbursed more. The Federal Bureau of Prisons gets reimbursed more than they will have to pay for a city or a county or a state jail for that matter. Yeah. So they were extending their stay in those other prisons while they collected money. And that's where Joan is saying that there's also human trafficking there. They're keeping people, and they're not getting the benefits of their time that you get in the Bureau of Prisons.
Yeah, it's just a lot of corruption. It was obvious. Not that there aren't very good officers there, too. Some of the most decent people I've met in my life have been some officers I've met, particularly one in that prison, but others that were very decent. It's a hard job. It's a hard job. You have inmates screaming at you, and they attack the officers. There's some people mentally ill. Others just have lived such violent lives. They don't know. They act out. But anyway.
And now that you've been pardoned, you were supposed to spend much more time there. You had a lot of time left in those far from ideal situations. What would your message be for President Trump for pardoning you?
Oh, God bless you. Like I say, I'd like to give him a big hug. I'd give him a big spiritual hug. But, it was so good of him to do that. We know he has said that he would, but with politics and everything, I just didn't know. I know I believe him to be a man of his word, but I know he had a lot of pressure on him. And so I really was surprised, to tell you the truth. And I was hoping, but it was a beautiful, beautiful surprise. I just want to tell him thank you. And I think you're a great man. And I think God's going to use him mightily, especially as he keeps opening himself up more and more to God. And I think he does. I think he does that, and he will. So I'm very, very pleased. I'm very, very happy.
There's an effort in Congress to repeal the FACE Act, which is what was used to put you and the other pro-lifers in prison. What do you think about that?
Oh, I think it's incredibly great because it is total discrimination. It is using conspiracy in a way it was never meant to be used. Conspiracy is really conspiring to do wrong, to do harm, to commit a real crime. not to do civil disobedience, which our country has been founded on civil disobedience, the Boston Tea Party, civil disobedience against corruption or unjust laws, the civil rights movement. I was part of that as a preteen, It's totally nonviolent. We were totally nonviolent. We offered help to the moms, and to conspire to save a life and then to be given this, her facing 11 years in jail for conspiring to save a baby's life nonviolently. And then another big corruption is, and I saw it not just in the pro-life cases, but where people will take a plea bargain and then their public defender, supposed to be your defense attorney, is conspiring to force you to cooperate with, give the prosecution what they want, to give you a harder sentence. I've seen this with other inmates too, where the defense attorney would say, oh, you will not be deported where you're being threatened to be killed, if you go back to Jamaica, and one situation was. And yet, as soon as they went to court, they switched around and did not did not uphold what they told the inmate that they were going to do. I saw a lot of that in prison, and definitely our attorneys, other than the one I had a very good attorney. But I went pro se, though, because the babies aren't allowed an attorney. So on that principle, I refused the good attorney. I got a real good attorney. But public defender, federal public defender, Binwald was his name. He's a great man. But so I defended myself. I wasn't allowed to say anything in my defense. I couldn't give an opening statement to the jury. I couldn't give a closing statement because you had to write down what you're going to say. I mentioned God. I mentioned human life, the babies, the dignity of the human child. So I wasn't able to make my statements. I had to be silent in my whole defense. That's not American. It's not supposed to be American court, justice. So.
Well, I know you guys have to go, so I don't want to keep you for too long. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
I myself will continue to try to defend the children the best I can as I feel God's calling me to. And I believe rescue is always necessary. It's the only thing that clearly speaks to the truth of what is happening in an abortion. A human being, a little child, is being brutally put to death. Rescue treats them as every human being should be treated. We rescue people. You protest evil conditions. You protest certain things, but you rescue human beings. You rescue human beings. So I think it's so mandatory that we always have rescue. And I do hope that pro-lifers, even if they disagree with breaking the law, they should remember that the good people in Nazi Germany broke the law to rescue the Jews. And it was a law. The Jews were decreed to be non-persons and enemies of the state. So it was treason. Yet, many rescued. Because human beings deserve to be rescued. Not just protested or offer, please don't kill this person. I have a dear friend, John Ryan, who said, if I were going to be dragged to my death, and I would be grateful for everyone there saying, please don't kill him, or we will take him, and it won't be a burden on you, or whatever. But I would want someone to try to rescue me. I would want someone to rescue me. And I think as people of God, those who believe in God, that there should be no community in the world where a godly person lives, a person who wants to follow God, where they aren't willing to try to rescue the innocent and the just. Because where they're killing children in the community in which I live, then how can I not try to rescue my brothers and sisters in danger?
And just to add to that, for those who've been involved in an abortion, for women, obviously, for men, for siblings whose brother or sister has died in an abortion, for the abortionist, there is hope and there is healing and there is an opportunity to find reconciliation, that we certainly don't hate anybody. I, with Joan's help too and support, run good counsel homes for mothers and babies. And any pregnant mom can get help not only at a good counsel home, but throughout the nation, there are hundreds of them. There are thousands of pregnancy centers offering help today, and there are many, many programs like we have also at Good Counsel for those who have post-abortion trauma and need post-abortion healing. And you could look that up online and find many programs around the nation, because we have a nation that's broken, that's in pain. Many people are angry, and we need to help to offer the healing and the hope and the reconciliation that every one of us needs to bring this nation again to true peace, to inner peace.
Subscribe to get the news the legacy media won't tell you and only the Daily Signal can bring to you.